Hi guys, how's everybody doing tonight? Actually, let me get my mic. It's been a really rough day, so give me a second and I'll get my mic plugged in. Hold on. That would be if I could find my mic. Can you guys hear me okay without my mic? Because I really don't even know where it is. Listen, I'm all over the place today, and you guys will understand in a minute. It may be in my backpack from the other day. Let me check. It is. Yay. Let me just plug it in here. Hold on. And Ed will understand where I'm coming from with this live stream today because he lives in the same community. And yes, he did not know these individuals like I did, but it's been a terrible, absolutely horrific day. So, all right. How's that, guys? So, I know this isn't a normal topic that I talk about on my channel. I know I'm normally talking about prepping things, or I'm talking about, recent events, things that are happening around the world. But this tragedy that happened to us today, it hit home, and it's going to be really, really hard for me to talk about this. So I'm sorry. But we had some kids. And when I say kids, I mean young kids. The oldest was 16. They died in a tragic car accident very, very early this morning. And none of them had their licenses. They had taken a vehicle that was a family member's, and they were out doing, what teenagers do. We've all been there. We've all been teenagers. We've all been like, okay, we're going to go for a joyride. We're going to drive around and listen to music and think we're cool because at that age, we think that we're invincible. We think that tragedies don't hit us. And even as adults, I think a lot of us see that things are tragic that happen, and we never expect it to be something that's going to affect us. We see all of these tragedies on the news and all over the world, and we hear them and we watch them, and we are remorseful for the people that are involved in them, but we just don't quite understand until we're actually there and we actually have to deal with it. Really, every time I do a video, every time, he knows I'm upset. He knows the kids are upset. He won't, no, let go. Let go. That is a very noisy toy to be eating on. No, get down. Stab it. We don't expect it to affect us. These children, and that's what they were, two of the passengers had their permits, because you can get your permit at 16 here in New York State. They changed the law recently where you have to now have your permit for 6 months, have 50 hours of driving. There's a certain amount that has to be after dark. And, then you can apply you have to take a 5-hour course or like a defensive driving thing. And then you can apply to get your license. So these children, unfortunately, were not licensed drivers. They did not have anybody that was old enough to be in the vehicle with them. And it happened very early in the morning, so they were out late. And do I know if there were any drugs or alcohol or anything involved? I have no idea. I just know that one of the children who passed away in this car accident, his brother was staying at our house last night. We've known this family forever, and that's why Brian is not here, and he will not be here this evening. He is with the family. He grew up with the parents. His best friend's brother is actually the father of one of the young boys that died in this car accident, unfortunately. And life changes in an instant. I did not expect to wake up this morning, and I'm pretty sure my kids did not expect to wake up this morning to find out that their friends had died, and had died in such a tragic, horrible, horrible way. None of them were wearing seatbelts. They were all ejected from the vehicle. There were 5 of them in the car, and only one has survived as of yet. 2 of the girls, the 2 girls in the front, the one who did survive, and then the one who was driving, were literally at my house 2 days ago. The one who was driving, she is best. And when I say best, I mean best. I mean, like, was coming over today, called me mom, called Brian dad. She was my daughter's and my stepdaughter's best friend. She was here all the time. In fact, last summer, she lived here basically the entire summer. And every day after school, she would come here and she would walk in the door and she'd say, "Hey, Mom." And, "Hey, Dad, what's up? How are you guys? Love you guys so much." And here's the worst part. Okay, if that's not tragic enough, if the entire thing is not tragic enough, my stepdaughter was the last person who was called. So we had investigators knocking on our front door at 9:30 this morning. We had no idea. Brian had to work today. It's Saturday. He works on Saturdays, and he had gotten home and had said, "Hey, there was a huge crash." Now, where they had crashed was about 20 miles away from here. So they were just out joyriding on back roads. And it was foggy out, and they were going very, very fast. So he had said, "Oh, I heard about this car accident." And then we get a knock on the door. And he goes out to talk to them. And at first I thought it was like Mormons or like people with the church, because you know how they come through and they're in black sedans or whatever. And they talk your ear off and they try to get you to, do whatever. So at first I thought it was that, but I know how Brian is, and he wouldn't handle that like that. So I knew something was up when he was still out there talking to them. He came in the house with this look on his face. Obviously, it was an investigation. They couldn't tell us anything. It wasn't our kids that were involved, but they wanted to speak to my stepdaughter because she was the last person that the driver had called. And she was going to go with them. She just happened to stay here because her brother is here for the weekend. And the one kid's brother was here also, and they're all very good friends. So she decided to stay, and actually the 2 of them were going to go, and they decided against it. Thank God. That's all I can say for that, because I would be one of those parents that would be mourning the loss of a child right now. And yes, she's only my stepdaughter, but she's my daughter. These kids are my kids. I don't care if I gave birth to them or not. I look out for them and I make sure that they're safe, and it is what it is. I just do it because I don't care if I gave birth to them or not. They're still my children. They're always going to be my children, and they know that. And like I've said before, I don't know if I've told you guys this, but Brian and I had dated about 12 years ago when they were little. And, I was like a mother to them back then. So they are very comfortable with me. They talk to me about things. We just have a very good relationship. So they are like my children. And it's tragic. And it's something that no one ever wants to have to deal with. Losing a loved one is one thing, but losing your own child is, I can't even imagine. I can't even imagine. And I don't personally know the parents of these children, just because I haven't, had any contact with them. Like, they would come over to my house, and we live in town, so they would walk, and they'd just tell their parents, I'm walking over to Sam and Bree's house, and, I'm going to spend the night or whatever. And then, they would go back home. So In fact, last year, my daughter stayed at the driver's house for a whole month. That's how close they were. And it's devastating. And my children are devastated. The community is devastated. Um, to have to lose these children who made such an impact on so many people's lives is just, it's unbelievable. And that's kind of like an eye opener. You have to cherish every second of every day, even the bad stuff, because you just don't know what's going to happen. You don't know. Should they have been out that late? No. Should they have been driving around in a vehicle without a license? No. Do I know the whole story? No. Will I ever know the whole story? It took a really long time for us to piece together what had happened. They still have not officially released the names, but because we know the families and we know the children, and we know the friends of the children, we knew. We knew quite early on, way before anybody else knew. So just hold your loved ones tight, because you just don't know when they're not going to be there anymore. So many horrible, terrible things happen in this world. There's so much evil and death and destruction, and just it's. I have no words. I can't imagine how these people feel. And yes, 2 were only 14. 2 of the passengers in the backseat were 14. The other 3 were 16. And like I said, there were 5 passengers altogether. 4 of them did not make it. And the other one is in the ICU at a hospital in the city. She was taken by Mercy flight up there. So we're hoping that, she's going to make a good recovery, but she is awake and she is responsive, and she is devastated because she is the only person in the car who survived. And it's amazing that she did, because she was found away from the car. She was ejected, as were all of the passengers, because none of them had seatbelts on. As a parent to teenagers around the age that these kids are, it's important that we're making sure that, yes, we're cautious around the kids whose lives are affected by this. But at the same time, we have to use it as a lesson to be learned, a lesson for these children to understand you're not invincible. My kids are scared to get in a car now. They don't want to drive. And, we have to sit back as a parent and go, you have to be smart. You have to be safe. And, you have to be paying attention at all times. You can't be distracted at all. And you can only do so much as a parent. And that's what's so hard about the entire thing. You can tell them until you're blue in the face, don't do this. Don't speed. Don't drive around with a bunch of your friends in the car, which is illegal anyway. But, here's the thing with that. If you're not getting caught, is it really illegal? No, because you're not getting caught. You're not going to get in trouble unless you're getting caught. And who's going to catch you at 3 o'clock in the morning driving on backcountry roads in Western New York? Nobody is going to catch you. That's just the reality of it. Anybody that's grown up in this area, or any area, that has that type of atmosphere has been there and understands that, teenagers are going to do that. They're going to get in the car and they're going to drive around their friends. They just got their permit or they just got their license, and it's exciting. It's a new rite of passage, that every child should be able to enjoy. But we as parents have to be the ones that instill in them that they have to be safe, they have to be cautious, they have to follow the rules. The rules are there for a reason. There's a reason why they don't want more than one teenager in a car at a time. It's distracting. There's a reason why they have seatbelt laws. Seatbelts save lives. Um, can I guarantee that if those kids had their seatbelts on, that they would be alive? I don't know. None of us are ever going to know that, unfortunately. But could it potentially have saved their lives? Yes, absolutely. Would it have made a difference if they had their seatbelts on? Well, they wouldn't have been ejected from the vehicle. They think they're cool because they're cruising around and they're not wearing their seatbelts. Um, that's not cool. It's not cool. It's not something that, you know, should ever be thought to be cool. And I sat down with my children this afternoon when they were both here, and I had a conversation with them. And I said, do you guys see why we say the things that we do? Why every time you walk out of this house, and you're going to get in a vehicle with somebody that isn't an adult that we trust, because yes, my daughter has an older boyfriend and she gets in a vehicle with him because he's graduated and he has his license. But I literally sat down with him before she got in the vehicle and I said, she is not to, not have her seatbelt on in the vehicle. And I can track how fast you're going in your vehicle from her app on her phone. So you better not be speeding with my daughter in the car. These are things that are on our shoulders as parents. And like I said, we can say it until we're blue in the face. And unfortunately, as terrible as it sounds, it's tragedies like these that wake people up and wake kids up going, holy shit, we're not invincible. Anything could happen to us. It's tragic and it should have never happened. And I wish they would have worn their seatbelts, because we may have only had, people in the hospital with just injuries instead of four dead teenagers that our community is going to mourn forever. This is a huge shock to our community. We just lost a very young person 2 days ago in a car accident who was also from here. So in the past, 2 or 3 days, we have, no, it was not the driver who survived. The driver was best friends with both of my daughters, and she was ejected, we believe, through the windshield. So no, she did not survive. It was the passenger that survived, and she's also very, very good friends, with my daughters. So they've known each other for a while, but the driver of the vehicle, they've known each other since like the 4th grade, and they're going to be juniors and sophomores. So a very long time they've been friends with this girl. And in fact, she was supposed to come here today and hang out with them and spend the night and, do the things that teenagers do. And the world and your life can change on a dime. You just never, ever know what's going to happen. Yeah, exactly, Richard. That's another thing, having the cell phones, having loud music. There's so many distractions. It's distracting for adults, to have. I know I get distracted when my kids are in the car and they're like yelling and screaming at each other. And I'm like, dude, shut up. I'm trying to focus on the road. You don't want to get in a car accident. I don't want you guys to get hurt. Like, AC Calypsy, funny story. So I don't know how many of you all believe in ghosts, but I'm pretty sure she was here today because I have a speaker that connects to my phone. And as you guys know, I have been sick for a couple of days. So my speaker's been dead. It's off. It's dead. It's sitting on my kitchen counter. And then on my phone, and I'll show you, I do not have my like Bluetooth. I know it's like hard to see, but like the Bluetooth button, that's not lit up blue. So I was, in the kitchen speaking with my stepdaughter, and we were talking about some memories of this young girl, and my speaker turned on, and it lit up her favorite color, and it beeped while it was off and dead. So, it's just her way of saying, "Hey, I love you guys. I'm here." Um, and I'm not gonna lie, we were a little freaked out. We just looked at each other and we knew instantly because we could feel it, and we just started bawling. So, this kid was like, she was like a second, third daughter to me. She was here all the time, and we were her second family. So it's hitting me just as hard as it's hitting the kids. They understand that. We've been crying off and on all day. Um, Obviously, she's not my daughter, and I didn't give birth to her, so I can't imagine how her mother feels. Um, but she was a great kid. She had issues just like everybody has issues, and she was working on them. Um, but to have her life ripped away at 16 years old is it's out of control. Um, Nobody should have to go through that. So our community is in mourning, and it will be for a while with all of these deaths of these young kids that were taken away too soon. And so what ended up happening is they went through an intersection and didn't stop at the stop sign, and it was a T. And they went across the road, hit an embankment, and then hit the tree. From what I'm understanding, probably head on. And all 5 of them were ejected. So, and not to mention it was super foggy last night, so they weren't even going to send the Mercy flight out because they couldn't get the chopper out there. They eventually did to take the one girl to the hospital. But our community is going to be in mourning for a very, very long time. So, we're going to have to join together as a community. And this is a strong community. We've had a lot of tragedy with young people over the past, few years, different things that have happened. And we pull together and we do different things. And we're a strong community. We're a very tight-knit little community. And that's what I think makes it so... No, I don't think, JJ, that they have anything set up for that. If I find out that they are doing that, I'll let you know. But, as of yet, I think everybody is kind of in shock still. I'm in shock. My children are in shock. Their friends were alive yesterday, and now they're not with us today. So, if that information becomes available, I'll let you guys know. If that's something that you would like to do, that would be very much appreciated. I'm sure, the families have a lot of things that they now have to deal with, unfortunately. So, on a more positive note, no, not really. This is not a positive video at all. Live stream, whatever. This is not, there's no positivity to this. I wish I could say that's not the case, but I think the worst part today for me was one of the passengers that had passed away was a 14-year-old boy, and his brother was at our house, and we didn't know, anything. You know how social media is. You know how people are. So obviously, when there's an accident or anything like that, a news article comes out and it goes on Facebook and it goes wherever, and people start circulating it and rumors start flying, and, the social media hounds get out there and they start doing their thing. And there was just a lot of uncertainty with everything. When the investigators came to the door this morning, they were, going, we need identifying information. We need to talk to her, for identifying information, and, asking about the passengers in the vehicle, if they, what hair color they had, what clothes they would have been wearing, tattoos, piercings, that kind of thing. So at that point in time, we knew that it couldn't have been good. But of course, it's an investigation, so they can't give us any information because we're not directly related. And of course, the kids have their Snapchat, their Instagram, and their Facebook, and all of that kind of stuff. So they're just on their phones, and people are like, "Did you hear? Did you hear? Did you hear?" And all the speculation is going around, and everybody's just like, we don't know what end is up at this point in time. We were literally running around on the phone with so many people this morning, like chickens with our heads cut off, getting different information from different people, different sources. The investigators were here probably for about half an hour, 45 minutes, kept ringing the doorbell, kept having more, questions, because Bree would answer questions, Brian would answer questions, the information would get sent to dispatch or whatever, and then they'd ring the doorbell again with more questions. So it was hectic. It was crazy. And the entire time, this poor kid's sitting there, and he's not able to get a hold of his brother. He's not able to get a hold of his parents who are at work. He has no freaking idea what's going on. And all these people are saying, something happened to your brother. There was a car accident. He was in the car, all of this stuff. And he's just sitting there going, I don't know what to believe. He doesn't want to believe it. He hasn't heard confirmation. And before he left our house, he had gone home with my stepson, and he had, gone to see if his parents were home, or if anybody was home, or if he could find his brother. And he didn't want to stay there, so he came back, and then the cops wanted to go and talk to him. So, but he didn't, want to without his parents being there. I mean, he's only, I think, 15. So maybe he's 16, I'm not sure. And he just came back and was sitting on my stepson's, floor, just at a loss, because he had no idea what was going on. And from what all the reports that were coming in, and everybody saying all this stuff, saying this happened, that happened, this happened, this person's not with us, that person's not with us, but nobody knows for sure because we haven't talked to the families. So it was just chaotic and crazy. And but now, it's straightened out, and we have, as much of the facts for right now. So that's just kind of my update on that. I don't know, Andrew, you're mentioning a Des law, and I'm not sure. I'm not sure what that is. So if you want to explain to me, what the Des law is, maybe it is something that needs to be passed. I honestly, and this is my personal opinion, our brains don't fully develop until we're 25 years old. I did take a lot of psychology classes in college. I'm fascinated by the human brain. And I don't think that we should be driving until we're at least 21. That's my personal opinion on it. I don't think teenagers have the mental capacity to be able to handle not only a vehicle, distractions, especially with all the cars that are on the road, all of that kind of stuff. They have a hard time focusing on schoolwork while they're sitting, in school. They have a really hard time. Okay, maybe 21 is a little bit overboard. 18 at least. I know that, there are some teenagers who are much more mature than other ones are. But for the safety aspect of it, I think the age needs to be raised. And I think that, it would cut down on a lot of the tragic instances such as this that, happen. Thank you, Ed, for taking care of the disrespectful people in here. People just don't care. People are the real pieces of work. Let's just put it that way. So, yeah, I think the age needs to be raised. And I think it should be required in all schools, to do a defensive driving course. Have driver's ed in all of the schools. They used to do a thing when I was a teenager in high school, and I haven't seen it. And it was specifically for prom, but I think it had a huge message. So out in front of the school before prom, because we all know prom, teenagers, they've got older siblings, they're going to drive rounds, they're going to give them alcohol, whatever. They used to take crashed cars from actual car accidents from the junkyard that we have here in town, and they would put them in front of the school and use it with a sign saying, you don't want this to be you. We don't want this to be our children, those kinds of things. So that had a huge impact on me. And I know I had a huge impact on a lot of people I went to school with. Just seeing that and thinking about that in the back of your mind, like it's a vehicle, it's a metal vehicle, and it goes at high rates of speed. And if one little slip of the wheel, when you're just slightly distracted, can just change everybody's world in an instant. And I think they need to do that in schools. I think they need to, have more awareness of the dangers of getting behind the wheel as a young teenager. I think that, yes, the parents need to have some responsibility for it, but you can't, unfortunately, hold on to your kids forever. At some point, they have to, fly the coop, and they have to do their thing. And we as parents, unfortunately, can only do so much to show them, the things that can happen and the tragedies that can happen, and, all of that kind of stuff. But until they see it firsthand or until they experience it, unfortunately, a lot of children, especially in this day and age, they don't take it. They look at you and laugh because they know everything. We all know how teenagers are. They know everything. They know better than their parents. We haven't been there. We haven't, done anything that they've done. We're old. That kind of mentality. I remember I was there. We were all there at one point in time. We were all teenagers. We all had that mentality, and we all thought that, our parents were dumb and didn't know what they were talking about, and were just doing things just to make us mad and upset and to ruin our lives, basically. When in reality, we're just trying to protect them. And, it's a sad thing that none of us should have to go through. But that's, unfortunately, I think one of my worst fears when I became a parent. not, how am I going to do this? Are my kids going to turn out okay? My worst fear was I can't, I'm not going to be able to deal with my children getting their driver's license and getting behind the wheel, because it's sad. It's scary. And my daughter has her permit and she absolutely refuses to drive right now. She doesn't want to, have anything to do with getting behind the wheel. So, and I understand where she's coming from, because I probably would have felt the same way if I was in that kind of situation. I never had to, I can't say never. We did have a kid that I was good friends with who had died in a car accident, but it was his own fault. Well, it wasn't his own fault. He had a heart attack behind the wheel, and he had been dead before the car actually crashed. But that was the only, instance where I ever had to handle that. So this situation is completely different and out of my league as far as things, and how do you explain this to children, especially, at the age that my kids are at now, where they're driving. How do you explain to them as a parent, it's okay to get behind the wheel. You just have to be safe. You have to make good choices, and you have to follow the rules and the laws. They're there for a reason. That's the best that any of us, honestly, I guess, can do. So that's kind of where I'm at with the entire thing. It's been a really rough, trying day. I didn't think this live stream would even last this long. But once I started kind of talking about it, it feels kind of good to be able to talk to somebody. And, yes, I've been talking to the kids all day, but I've been comforting them. And so my stepdaughter, this was probably the most heartbreaking part of my entire day. I'm not going to lie. So my stepdaughter, her ex-girlfriend, who was living with us, who went on vacation to Florida with us, her girlfriend was in the car, and was one of her recent girlfriend, was one of the deceased. And she came over to see us today, and she literally just ran to me and hugged me for like 10 minutes and just bawled. Just bawled. She was just with her yesterday. So, I mean, it's been a rough, trying day, and it feels good to talk about it. Brian, he has to do what he has to do. He grew up with that family, and they lost one of their children today. So, and I can't imagine what that must feel like. And I don't wish that on my absolute worst enemy. I don't wish bad on anybody. This world is just too full of evil and hate and anger, and people attacking each other over stupid shit all the time. It's just that's not what the world is supposed to be like. We're supposed to be lifting each other up. We're supposed to be loving each other, and we're supposed to be caring about each other. And yes, everybody's going to have their differences, because everybody's different. We're all human, and we all like different things and deal with things differently and handle situations differently. And, that's just how it is. So, we should be focused on that. We should be focused on lifting each other up, not tearing each other down. I'm not going to cry. I'm trying very, very hard. I think my tear ducts are actually empty today. It's just been very, it's been a really rough freaking day. I didn't want to believe it. I still don't believe it. I'm still in freaking shock. The worst part is, this house, we at one point in time had 6 teenagers living here. So we had my daughter, my stepdaughter, my stepson, his two friends. Okay, not six teenagers, but and my son was here. Um, so he we had all these kids and they had all these friends. So we got to know these kids really well. And I was always like, hey, just have them come over to our house. Everybody can come hang out at our house. This is the fun, cool house to hang out at. I'm a pretty laid back, lenient mom. I'll let you stay up late. I'll let you eat popcorn. I'll let you, go out and walk around town if you want, as long as you're not getting into trouble, blare your music. Um, I stay up late myself. So yeah, this was the place for them to come. And they've all been here. Well, with the exception of one of them. But all the rest of them have been here. And we knew these kids. We knew them very, very well. So it's just been stressful, trying, depressing, heartbreaking, horrific day that I didn't want to go through. And I definitely don't want my children to have to go through it. So I'm just sitting here struggling on how I'm going to comfort them, because I've never experienced a tragedy like this, myself. So it's a struggle for me as a parent to sit here and try to help my children cope, and we're being more lenient than usual today. Obviously, you want to have a couple friends come over and, spend the night. We're actually going to take well, I don't know if Brian's going with me, maybe. But we're going to go up to the accident site tomorrow. We're going to take some flowers up there for the kids, and we're going to pay our respects. And I told the girls they should maybe get together with their friends and maybe do up a nice little cross, and then everybody can plan, to have everybody go up there and take teddy bears or, whatever. Maybe make I don't know, whatever, just something that they would like. It helps the healing process, I think. And I think that's important. I know it's going to be hard going up there. It's going to be hard for me. So yes. Somebody did ask if I sat down and talked to them. I have been with them all day, and been, working with them to feel better, a shoulder to cry on or somebody to cry with, somebody to talk to. Bree hasn't really left my side much today. She was actually just up here in the attic. And then her brother came back. So she's down talking with him, which he's a little bit older. He knows the kids. But they were younger. So more around my daughter and stepdaughter's ages. So it's just been a very, very rough day. But we are a strong community, and I'm really hoping that people are going to get together and do some type of vigil, at our football field, let off balloons, let off lanterns, have the kids go down there and, write things to their friends, and let them go. I think that would be great. And if they don't do it, damn it, I'm going to. I'll set it up. I'll get it going. And, I will make it freaking happen, because it's a tragedy that nobody should have to deal with. And we shouldn't even have to be sitting here talking about this right now, but we are. So that's just kind of what I wanted to talk about tonight. Kind of, let you guys know what's been going on. And plus, I'm still a little sick. I'm sure you can hear it in my voice. Not to mention I've been crying all day, so that's great. I had to reapply my makeup like 3 times. It's great. Absolutely. They do. And I don't think anybody in this community, this group of kids, they all know each other very, very well. They all hang out together. Yes, they have their issues, as everybody has issues. You know, you're friends with somebody, and then you fight, and then you're not friends, and then you're friends, and it's a teenager thing. We've all been there. But for a majority of it, there is a large group of kids in this community whose lives changed forever today. Not just the families that were impacted. Yes, the paper lanterns. Yeah, I was talking to Bree and Samantha about that earlier, and that's something that we definitely want to do. So I have no idea where my brain was. My brain's just shot today. What was I talking about? It's been a long day. I have no idea. I don't know. I'm at a loss. So, our community. Yeah. So we're a strong community, and these kids, they are a big group of kids that all know each other, that hung out together. They might not have all hung out all at the same time, but they didn't have those little cliques. You know what I mean? Everything's good with the paper lanterns. They just did a vigil for the other girl who died a couple days ago, and everything's fine. I don't think they really care at this point, considering this is a huge tragedy for this community, and it's going to take a long time for us to heal. And that's kind of another thing too. So there's no way to prepare for something like this happening. You can lecture your children, and you can try to teach them, but there's absolutely no way to prepare for this. So, as somebody who's preparing for other things that could happen, how do you deal with that when you can't prepare for it? I am not the type of person who is not prepared for things, and this hit me like a ton of bricks. So, and I know it is affecting Brian as well, just because, he knows the family's grown up with the family of one of the children. But it's affecting me, I think, a little bit more, just because these girls, well, the one girl, the driver, she called me mom too. Like, we had a lot of late night chats, and hung out a lot, and had dancing parties and listened to music, and just had really good times. And so I had a relationship with her that he didn't have. So I'm impacted a little bit differently than he is, especially by her death, because I had that relationship with her. I did those things with the girls, all of them together, and those are things I will never forget. Those are going to be memories that I'm going to cherish even more than I already did. So it's just hard to, not be prepared for this type of a situation, unfortunately. But here we are dealing with it. Oh, Brian did show up. What are you doing? Oh boy. No, you're drunk. Don't.
I was just watching this live stream, and I noticed that there's 12 down thumbs. And I want all you down thumbs to know to go fuck yourself, because I lost a lot of good people that I cared about today. And you go stick them fucking thumbs right up your fucking ass. Have a good night. That's all I have to say. I'm sorry, honey. I can't
Yeah, I
control
know.
my swearing.
It's all right. Just sit down
I
and
didn't
take a
want to
deep breath.
ruin your live stream, but
Just sit down and take a deep breath, okay? Just breathe.
all these fucking thumbs downers are like, oh, I'm going to give you a thumbs down because I have no idea what's going on with your life.
Yeah, well, that's how people are, honey. You just have to ignore the trolls. They're not worth the time. So,
my best friend's fucking son just fucking died.
and on that note, I'm gonna go and take
I'm
care of
sorry,
my family.
everybody.
It's okay. It's okay, honey. I'm gonna go and take care of my family, but I just wanted to come on and, let everybody know what was going on. So, I will talk to all you guys tomorrow. I hope you guys have a good night. Okay, bye.